Hey, it's Squidly. It's currently about 98 degrees in Alabama and the humidity is stupid, so I've been in the pool all day, not hiking. So today I have 5 tips for handling summer backpacking and hiking. Tip number 1 is picaridin and permethrin. So those are 2 chemicals that you're going to use to beat back mosquitoes and ticks, with the emphasis here on ticks. So the picaridin is what you're going to put on your skin, and you can see it says on here, this is from Off, and it says on here that it won't damage gear. There are all kinds of videos, you can look them up for yourself, that show that DEET is really harmful to not just you personally, but also to your gear. It'll melt the plastics in your gear. So picaridin is much better, and I can tell you from personal experience that using picaridin on your skin is really effective for keeping the mosquitoes off and also keeping the ticks off. In addition, I use permethrin. This is a product made by Sawyer, and it is effective on your clothes. This is not something you want to spray directly on your skin. And so it is effective for killing and repelling ticks, which is sort of critical in the summertime for keeping these things off of your clothes, but also works on chiggers and mosquitoes. So it'll help keep mosquitoes off, but if you're in the South and you're at all familiar with chiggers, or what we call red bugs, they will absolutely drive you crazy if they get on you and attach to you. They drive you nuts, and you can't even hardly see them. So they are the bane of my existence. They're awful. So in the summertime, picaridin for your skin and permethrin for your clothes. Tip number 2 is on your tent or your hammock setup with your tarp, open up the doors as much as possible. Allow as much free flow of air as you can possibly allow. Now, sometimes the weather really doesn't allow much for that, but allow as much free flow of air as the weather will permit. Usually on summer nights, you don't have to worry much about overnight rain and all-night rains. It's usually the afternoon kind of stuff. And so if you have to kind of close in for a while, that's okay. But as soon as the weather lets up, open it up and allow as much free flow of air as possible. I've personally been on trips like this where you get an afternoon thunderstorm, and so you kind of have to close it up and be in there pretty tight, and you can feel the thickness of the air and the condensation developing, and as soon as it lets up, open it up and allow the air out so that you don't get all that condensation in the middle of the night. Tip number 3 is to bring an extra layer. Now, in the summertime, we think of that as hot and sunny and even overnight, warm enough that you're at least comfortable in the clothes that you hike in. Well, that may not always be the case. I've had plenty of summertime trips, either in the Smokies or in the Rockies, where you're at higher elevation or you're in places that have lower humidity, and overnight it really cools. And so you end up with, especially in the morning, lower temperatures where you need an extra layer, at least for a little while before you really get going and you warm up, in order to keep from being chilled until you get going. Tip number 4 is sun protection. And I would argue there are 3 things you could do to protect yourself from the sun. One is a wide-brimmed hat. It's not like this ball cap that would protect your face, but a wide-brimmed hat is going to protect your ears and your neck and the exposed skin up above your shirt. The second of those is a sun hoodie. I have started using sun hoodies that are basically fishing gear in order in the summertime to protect myself from the sun. And what you can do with a sun hoodie is, first of all, it's long sleeve, so that'll protect your arms, and you can also pull the hood up and put your hat on top of it to hold it in place in order to protect your neck and your ears. And the third piece for sun protection is sunscreen. Now, it almost goes without saying, but in a lot of places, you may be, especially on the East Coast, you may be hiking in what we think of as the Green Tunnel, and you may not need a whole lot of sunscreen. But if you're at higher elevations and you're above tree line and you're in places that are really exposed, it doesn't take long in places like that where you're exposed to the sun and you're going to burn potentially pretty quickly. And so sunscreen and applying that early in the day makes your hiking day a whole lot easier. Tip number 5, and this is probably one of my favorites, is bringing a bandana or a washcloth so that at the end of the day, you're able to wet that washcloth, that bandana, and wipe off all the salt and the grime of the day and get that off of you, and also kind of cool off a little bit. It's almost like taking a little bit of a sponge bath at the end of the day so that you can feel a little bit cleaner and a little bit better at the end of your day to eat your dinner and get ready for bed. Okay, those were 5 tips for a better summer trip. If you have any additional ideas, put those in the comments. Let's have a conversation about it. And on the way out, don't forget to hit like and subscribe.